Hey mamas, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be sharing what my cerclage journey was like. When I was pregnant last year and I needed a cerclage, and I had never heard about it before, by the way, and I was doing my research, trying to find resources, it was so hard to come across somebody who would just give you that encouragement and that support and that, you know, go get it girl type of feeling. And so I was alone a lot, and I really hate that I waited till it was too late to even think about getting it done. So I want to make this video for all of the moms out there who are in situations like I was, and who are looking for that solidarity, that community, that confirmation that it can work. I do know that it's not promised how it's going to go, because even the procedure itself has a lot of risks associated, and you know, you don't get to choose who performs a cerclage on you, or you don't know how it's going to go. So I can say for that, just like, you know, I didn't know how it's going to go for me, but I can say that if you're looking for somebody who's been through it before, then I hope that this video can help you. I know that my story may not fit everybody's situation, but I'm just here to offer encouragement and to tell you that you've got this, okay? Before we get into it, comment below what made you click on this video. Are you currently needing a cerclage? Are you just educating yourself? Do you currently have a cerclage and you're anxious and you don't know how it's going to go? Whatever your reason is, let me know in the comment section below, because I would love to figure out why you clicked on this video. Backstory. This is my last cerclage was my first and only one that I've been through. I already have a daughter who's 4, and with that pregnancy, everything was smooth. My husband does tell me that they did mention me having a short cervix at that time too, but it was nothing to be concerned about. I personally don't remember. So to the best of my knowledge, my first pregnancy was problem-free and everything was fine. My second pregnancy, actually third, because I miscarried my second pregnancy, but I got pregnant right after my miscarriage. I'm talking like a month after. So I don't know if that has anything to do with my cervix shortening. The doctors didn't know, but I'm just putting this information out there just so you know the backstory of where I'm coming from body-wise. So I got pregnant again a month after miscarrying, and at my anatomy scan in 19 weeks was when I found out that my cervix was on the shorter side, but it was nothing to be concerned about. It was just, they didn't give me a number at that time, but it was just something to look at. Then I went again, and it was exactly a 2.5. So at that point, I was prescribed progesterone to insert. Again, I did my research on that. I couldn't find enough, so I just prayed and I just did it, because I'm like, at least I'm trying to keep the baby in longer and not go into preterm labor. So a week after I started using progesterone, I went for my appointment. This was actually like 5 days after, and my cervix was even shorter. It had dropped from 2.5 centimeters to 1.95. And so progesterone apparently had not worked yet. It wasn't doing its wonders yet. So at that point, the doctors wanted to see a little bit more if it was going to shorten, which now that I think about it, I should have been pushing for a cerclage at that point, but I knew nothing about a cerclage. And when they mentioned it, because they didn't talk about it with urgency, I didn't think that I was going to need it. Bad move on my part, I admit. I should have questioned more. Okay, so if this is not working, what can I do? I just had too much trust in my medical provider. So that happened, and I was told to wait and see if it shortens again. Very bad move once again. So once it was a 1.95 and I was using progesterone, I started to see mucus. It kind of looked like my mucus plug. It was brownish. And then there was one point I had to go to triage for false contractions. So that, the mucus, the false contractions, and then I had pelvic pressure and pain. It almost felt like my baby was so low. And this was 21 weeks at this point. The next time I went for another appointment, it had dropped from 1.95 centimeters to 0.6, y'all. This was when they were like, okay, this is your only option. You need to get a cerclage, or if you wait it out, you know what the outcome is going to be. So I didn't want to risk my baby being born prematurely, especially because he wasn't even at the point where he had a high chance of survival if I had him early. So even though I didn't know what a cerclage was, I had to do my research really fast, pray about it with my husband, and I got admitted that same day. They did all the paperwork, and then the very next morning I went through the procedure. They tell you there are risks associated. Risks like you could get an infection, your membranes could get ruptured, it may not hold. So I was just like, oh my God, 0.67 years is so short. I was just praying like, Lord, let this work, let this work. And I didn't want to pick the choice of let's just wait it out, because waiting it out so far not turned out good. So I just went for it, and I prayed that everything would turn out right, because I wanted to at least say that I did my very best if my baby still didn't make it. I didn't want to lose my baby and it's because I didn't even try. The good thing about all of this is that my baby was always safe. He didn't have any issues. He didn't have any problems internally. His anatomy was great. And so that was one determining factor for us to go ahead with this, because I was like, I can't just let a healthy baby with no issues at all just not make it. So I wanted to do my very best. Everything went great. It was a very short procedure. I think it took maybe 20 minutes, if that. 20 to 30 minutes, I think. I don't want to say anything more than that because it was literally very short. I was given a spinal in the back in my spine. So that numbed me from my waist down. I couldn't even feel a thing. Like, I was elevated, my head was slightly tilted downward, and my pelvis was up in the air, and I could just feel tugging, like, not harshly, but I could just feel a little bit of that, but no pain whatsoever. After the procedure, I just had to wait for all the spinal to wear off, and I was told that it could cause a headache as well, which I had a very slight headache. And then after that, a few days in, I could feel the spot where the spinal was split. I could feel like this heaviness there, but that was it. I didn't have any back-related issues or any headaches or anything after that. And one other thing was, right after the cerclage was put in, that pelvic pressure was just gone. I didn't feel that anymore. I didn't feel any tightness anymore. I didn't even feel like something had been done to me. All I could feel was, I'm not achy anymore. I don't feel any pain anymore. I don't feel like my baby is coming out anymore. The progesterone suppositories, they give you a white discharge. Not discharge all through the day. At least in my experience, it wasn't like a white discharge all through the day. I would put that in there at night. I would wake up to go pee maybe at 5 a.m. and then I would see this discharge in my underwear, but that's all it was. I don't know if it's different for other women, but for me, that's how it was. It was just like one episode of discharge, and then the rest of the day would be fine. So I did this every night, even with the cerclage in still. And I was told that the cerclage was going to be taken out close to my delivery. You don't want to, they didn't want to have the stitch in up until like too close to my full, my due date. Not too close to my due date. You want it to be out before any of that happens, because you don't want to go into labor and then it just rips everything out of you. So I scheduled my removal for 36 weeks and 5 days, almost 37 weeks. The removal was very fast. I've heard people say they went through traumatic experiences. This one lady had been through it multiple times, and she said each time was traumatic and there was a lot of blood. My experience this one time was not so. It was quick. It was maybe 4 minutes, if that. I would say it was very uncomfortable. It's like a pap smear, but times maybe 8 or 10. Thankfully, it was bearable. I was just ready to get it out anyway, so all my anxiety melted away once the speculum was in there. It was very uncomfortable, but I was able to put up with it. So it's close to painful, but it's more so uncomfortable, at least in my experience. So after the removal of 36 weeks, this was on February 1st. February 25th, my son came. So he didn't come right after the removal. There are people who go into labor right after the stitch comes out. And then there are people who, people like me, I went almost a full month after removal. And after the removal, I felt fine. I didn't feel any pressure, uncomfortable pressure. I didn't feel anything of that sort that would have had me feeling like, oh, this baby's about to come. So I also didn't do anything to induce him. I didn't do any dates and some type of smoothie. I didn't do any of that. I wanted my baby to fully be ready. So I did some mild circuits so that he could turn the right way, so he could face down and I would face my back. I did those, and I also did some stretching the day before I went to labor, actually. I'm very thankful that I caught it right when it was like at its shortest. There was no funneling. The doctor that performed the procedure said that I was about 1 centimeter dilated. So it means that if I hadn't gotten the cerclage, I probably would have gone into preterm labor, considering I had like discharge and it felt like my baby was coming out and the contractions and all of that. So I'm so thankful to God that I caught it at the right time and I was at the hospital at the right time so they could admit me and get the procedure done. Now, as far as restrictions go, I was put on pelvic rest, no full-time bed rest, because that's not good long term, because you still want to be moving around. You still have blood that needs to circulate. So I was told to not be on full bed rest, but be on partial bed rest. What that meant was not doing too much. Like I could fix me lunch or I can walk around the house, but nothing like bending over, doing tedious tasks or cleaning the bathroom or nothing like that. And so that was really hard for me. My poor husband, he had to take care of everything around the house. He had to make food, he had to buy food, he had to give my daughter a bath, he had to take care of me with other complications of my pregnancy. If you don't know what that's about, go check out my previous video on my pregnancy journey, because I've been through a lot in this past year. But he took care of me, and it was a very vulnerable stage of my that I went through, because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even play with my daughter. It was very like I was helpless in a lot of ways. And the thing with the cerclage is it comes in step. First, you find out you need one, you're all scared, then you get it, and then now there's this anxiety of will it hold? So I went through that a lot, but I also had to remember that I have God to depend on and to trust in him through the whole process, because it is not for the weak. It's only he can do it. Oh, like God brought me through basically. So I had to remember that a lot and not stress, because I didn't want to add stress to everything that was going on. I had to just trust God that he's got me and he's going to see me through. So there is a lot of anxiety in it. There's a lot of stress, but I would say that when that happens, or when you feel that way, just try to calm down. You're not supposed to be doing much anyway, so you have plenty of time to listen to music, watch good movies, watch a good show. In my case, like watch K-dramas. But if I could go back in time, I would relax more. I was just so anxious and ready to have a baby that it just kept mentally, it was just draining. So don't be like me. And I know, don't get me wrong, it's a very frustrating time, but I would say try to calm down, leave everything in God's hands, and take it a day at a time. That's how I took it eventually. Every day I'm like, ooh, I got through. Tomorrow I'm gonna do this. One thing about the restrictions, eventually it got to a point where I could like still tidy up. I could still like mop with the mop. I could sweep. I could play with my daughter, but not, I had to listen to my body eventually, because I don't think I should advise you to do this, but in my experience, I was just like listening to my body. If I felt like something was making me feel weird, or now I feel some kind of, I don't know, pressure somewhere, I would just sit down. And I would also take a look at how many things I've been doing that day. If I think I've been doing too much, and it's like, okay, girl, just chill. Don't try to do anything else, because it's so easy to want to do everything, especially when you have a toddler. She wants to play, she wants to go for walks, she wants to do this and that. And I just didn't want to keep saying no. So I had to find creative ways to spend time with her, like maybe on the couch, reading a book, or in the bed, or I don't know, draw something, or tell her stories, or watch a TV show together. So that's as far as restrictions. You want to still listen to your body. You want to listen to your doctor, first of all, but also listen to your body. Even if it's something that's okay to do, you have to still know when it's time to just chill and relax and not keep pushing it. And so yeah, that's how I did it. And eventually I was able to still do some things around the house. Still not as much as I would have loved to, but enough to feel like, oh, I'm not just here doing nothing. If you have any more questions, anything I didn't answer, feel free to ask me in the comments below. And if you made it this far, you like this content, please like it, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that anytime I post a video, you get notified. So yeah, I think I answered, put out everything that I went through. Ask your doctor all the questions that you need. Make sure that you're not just relying on online forums or even a video like this to get through your cerclage journey. Ask so many questions. I asked so many questions over and over and over. Every time there was a new nurse, I would ask the same question. Every time there was a new medical professional, I'd ask the same question just to see if they're all consistent. Some people don't get to go the full pregnancy term even with a cerclage. Some people experience complications with it. There's so many different versions of it. That's why I'm saying don't just rely on what I say. Talk to your doctor as well and listen to them. But in my case, this is how it went. It was smooth. When I look back, I just was worried a lot. But that's also because it's something I've never been through and I didn't know the future. So it was very stressful and frustrating, but I took it every day, and I encourage you to take it that way too. The stress is not going to add any more good news to it. It's not going to make it any better. The best thing you can do is to work with what you have. Pray every day, take it a day at a time, and trust the stitch. Another thing people might think is weird is that when the stitch was taken out, I asked to keep the stitch. I feel like it literally saved my son's life. And so one day I want to be able to talk to him about it or talk to my daughter about it and just educate my kids and just tell people about it, about how God used that to save my son. And yeah, so that's the story. You guys, it has been amazing sharing this with you. And I hope that it helped you in some way, gave you the support you're looking for, the encouragement, the solidarity, the confirmation that you need, whatever it may be. I hope that I gave you that in this video. Thank you, mamas. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to nourish yourself so you can flourish from the inside out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.